Hello there, I'm Mr. Swales and I'm going to take you through a short film for girls thinking about studying Economics and Business A-levels at NGHS. First of all, Economics and Business are taught as two separate subjects, so I'll go through the kind of areas that we study in each subject and I'll answer some of the typical questions that we get asked about the two subjects as we go through. So to begin with, the question that I get asked every year is, what is the difference between the two subjects? The simplest explanation to that would be to think about business being a subject where we are looking inside a business, thinking about the way that a business is run, from hiring and managing their staff, looking after their finances and choosing how to market their products or services, as well as thinking about how the wider world affects a business. Whereas economics looks at the world around us. This includes the way that individuals make decisions, the way that markets work, how countries might work together or against one another, and how we might try to make the world a fairer place for everybody living in it. And as part of that, we also think about the decisions that businesses make. So there are some areas of overlap, and then many more areas where the subjects are completely different. Thinking about each subject then, economics is split into two main parts, microeconomics and macroeconomics. The typical view of economics is that we will look at stock markets and the world of finance, teaching you how to make your first million on the stock exchange. Obviously it isn't quite like that, otherwise I wouldn't be here making this video, I'd be bobbing around on a yacht somewhere in the South Pacific. There I am. Microeconomics is the study of individual markets and consumer behaviour. How can we encourage people to stop buying unhealthy foods and take more exercise? How can we incentivise businesses to switch to renewable energy and reduce their carbon footprint? Why are some markets, such as internet service providers, dominated by a few large companies, while other markets, such as the restaurant trade, have thousands of companies of all shapes and sizes competing for your custom? Whereas macroeconomics looks at what governments aim to achieve, improving living standards, ensuring people are in employment, making sure the things that we buy remain affordable, and how governments try to achieve those things. A very current example is the way that many governments around the world try to navigate the COVID-19 lockdowns to keep the damage to their economies to a minimum. Some countries used the furlough schemes, some countries made direct payments to every citizen, some cut their taxes, and others paid people's rent or mortgages. Another aspect of what we look at in macroeconomics from our recent history was the global financial crisis in 2008. In economics, we look at why that occurred, the impact that it had on different countries, and how different countries tried to manage the global recession that followed. And yes, we will cover what a recession is, why they tend to occur, and how they affect different people. So you will sit 3 exams at the end of year 13. 1 exam in microeconomics, 1 exam in macroeconomics, and then the 3rd exam is a synoptic paper where you will look at the overall picture of economics. You'll have essay questions, but the types of questions that you will face will vary, from 31 mark multiple choice questions on paper 3 to shorter definition questions to test your knowledge, as well as calculations and data response questions. Economics at A-level is not heavily maths focused, but just like any A-level, there are quantitative elements to it, so having a good working understanding of practical maths is really important. Being able to calculate percentages, working with ratios to calculate exchange rates just as you would when you go on holiday, and calculating averages are particularly useful calculations to know, as well as being able to interpret and analyse data and graphs in context. These are all important skills as economists. Essentially, economics helps you to have a better understanding of how many aspects of the world work, whether that's understanding things like inflation, interest rates and the housing market, the reason that we have a minimum wage, why we pay taxes, and why countries such as the USA can have a national debt of over $20 trillion and not go bankrupt like a business would, which brings us on to talking about A-level business. While in economics we look at 2 main areas, business looks at the 4 main functional areas of a business. So in marketing, we look at how companies such as Balenciaga or Off-White persuade us to part with upwards of £400 for a t-shirt or a bag that advertises their company, or why some products fail spectacularly. In finance, we'll look at how businesses calculate their profits and why some companies run out of cash, whilst others, such as Apple, have got over $200 billion in cash sat in the bank doing nothing. Operations management looks at things such as how a company like IKEA produces 4.5 million Billy bookcases a year, while Vicepring sells a bed that costs £75,000 each. And in human resources, we discuss the laws that protect employees in the workplace, such as rules over the treatment of workers of different gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation or disability, and the methods business use to motivate their employees. Finally, we explore the global world of business and the role of companies that operate on every continent, including the way in which technology has allowed small family businesses to operate in a 24/7 international marketplace. As with economics, business is assessed with 3 exam papers at the end of Year 13. The first 2 papers each cover one section from Year 1 and Year 2, and then the third paper is a synoptic paper covering all areas of the business course. This paper is based around a business sector that we are given in advance, which means we can carry out a bit of research into the industry. Previous examples include the travel industry, the market for chocolate, and the health and fitness sector. Both subjects are very popular A-levels, with many of our students progressing to study economics or business at university level. It isn't a requirement for students to have studied either subject when applying to study them at undergraduate level, but of course it does give you an understanding of the types of areas that you might study, and it gives you a taste of whether you would enjoy studying either field for 3 or more years. Previous students of ours have studied at Oxbridge, London School of Economics, Durham and UCL, with many students undertaking a year abroad as part of their studies. This includes placements throughout Europe, as well as work placements in New York and study years at the University of California. As well as studying pure economics, our girls have moved on to study international business management, financial services, politics, philosophy and economics, as well as more traditional courses such as law and medicine. If you have any questions, please feel free to come and see me or drop me an email. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon. All the best.